So we just had the roadmap roundup for May 25, 2022 for Star Citizen, and there's a lot of stuff in here that sort of leads back into last week's letter from the chairman, 318, 317.2. What's going on? Let's check it out. First thing they talk about in this roadmap roundup is how they've pushed 318 to Q3 2022. They rehash a couple of things that were in the letter from the chairman last week, talking that the reason for this is persistent entity streaming. Their plan is to have 318 in PTU for 2 to 3 months before going to live, and hoping to get 318 live in late Q3. Now this means we're going to be having persistent entity streaming in like 2 months, at least in the PTU. So we very well could see this technology as early as July available to players, be it in probably a bad state with lots of bug fixing needed. Because of this though, they're doing another sub patch of 317.2. This patch is being targeted for late June and features a bunch of new features, some of which are some of the coolest things that I've experienced within the last couple of months. We'll go into the features in a second, but they also did mention that there will be a 319, and that one's going to be slated for Q4 2022. Apparently this will have a similar approach to 318 for the initial implementation of server meshing. So expect PTU for 2 to 3 months, and then actual release most likely very end of December or January next year, I would say. So what's been added to the release view? Well, starting off with one that won't be a surprise to anyone, the Drake Mule is coming out with 317, being announced in DefenseCon in a couple of days' time. So that one is done, ready to go, and everyone can buy their forklifts. So being added to 317.2, our new patch, we have illegal delivery missions. This is actually a feature that we've been asking for quite a while. More avenues to perform illegal missions, and apparently it's going to be helping with criminal reputation gains as well. Next up, we have AI Planetary Navigation. This system allows NPCs to move on planetary surfaces using a dynamically generated navigation mesh. This is something we've actually seen on ISC a couple of times within the last few months. I think the most important thing about this is it means we're actually going to see enemy NPCs above ground. And I don't know why, but that gets me really excited. First implementation of this feature will be the Reclaimer Derelict Points of Interest, which is also a thing that we've seen during some Inside Star Citizens recently. Speaking of, the Derelict Reclaimers are also coming with this patch, and honestly, this one was kind of expected. They'd been alluding to these wrecks for some time now, including actually kind of leaking that we would see them soon. So I'm glad they're going to be there, and I'm excited to go find them all. There will be additional Stanton-Lagrange points, implementing additional rest stop locations surrounding Microtech and R-Corp, including both the station themselves and the gas clouds surrounding them. Nothing huge here, but love it. More locations are always fantastic. New racing opportunities, new mining opportunities, new mission opportunities. Cool stuff. Probably the biggest thing that's coming in 317.2 though is the Siege of Orison. Now I've just released a video of us going through the Siege of Orison on the PTU, and this is by far the best dynamic event that I've gotten to play at the very least. It's this huge FPS PvEVP event. It has you traversing over different platforms. It has you grabbing ships from on top of platforms to get to the admin center. You've got to kill these lieutenants who have amazing looking armor. It feels kind of like Xenothreat, but on the ground. Now, I am a little bit disappointed this one isn't coming with 317.1 because they were testing it on the PTU. It certainly felt like we would get it maybe post-Invictus. But the event itself was fairly bug-free, which means there's probably not much fixing they have to do in order to make it be ready to go live with 317.2. Needless to say, June and July is going to involve a lot of FPS. Lastly, added onto the release view is 318 Persistent Entity Streaming. Making use of services such as the Entity Graph and Replication Layer, this will allow every dynamic object in the game to fully persist across all servers, irrelevant of whether it is owned or held by a player. We've talked about this a bunch of times, and there's a bunch of videos that talk about PES much better than I do, so I'll put a link in the description to someone who explains this a lot better than I do. Of course, we also have the Progress Tracker. In my opinion, the Progress Tracker is a much better way to understand how the company is working, what tasks they're working on, and how far they are in those tasks. And we've got 2 additions to the Progress Tracker. We have the previously mentioned Drake Mule, and we have the all-new Anvil Legionnaire, which went to concept earlier this week. And that's it. There wasn't much information in this, but it is still kind of quite a large roadmap roundup. We now have an explanation of what's going on with 318, what features we're likely to see in 317.2, and a confirmation that 319 will be a patch. This means that 4.0 with server meshing and pyro most likely will be a little bit later next year. Delays, CRG. Sound familiar? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, and comment below what you're most hoping for in 317.2, because they could 100% still add more features. Maybe even a ship or 2. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you for the next one. Now, as a reminder, chat, we've put 8 ballistic Gatlings on the Scorpius. Have we done it because of the meta? No. Have we done it because we like how much ballistic damage it does? Also no. The reason we've done it